Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education Applied Behavior Analysis Virtual Information Session. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We also have a student speaker joining us today, Jia Wang. And lastly, we have Professor and Faculty Lead for the Special Education Program, Dr. Tamara Martyr, joining us today. And before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We'll be able to share the link to the recorded video within 1 week. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual information session. We'll start the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Martyr will go over the details of the ABA programs. We have a student alumni of the program, and she will talk about her experience in the ABA program. We'll wrap it up with admissions requirements, go over financial aid and scholarship, and leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909, and then we became our own school in 2007. We're proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. And for school enrollment, we have approximately 1,741 students. And we offer 26 graduate programs, and that includes our doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. And we have a strong network of over 24,000 SOE alums. And here on the slide, you'll see the faculty members for the Special Education Department. We have Dr. Rebecca Cruz, Dr. Alexandra Shelton. And presenting today, we have Dr. Tamara Martyr. Dr. Martyr is the faculty lead for the special education program here at the School of Education. She has worked in the field of applied behavior analysis since 1994. Her research interests includes improving learning outcomes for students with developmental disabilities and autism through effective training and preparation of educators and professionals who provide educational services. And this includes training educators on implementing evidence-based practices with fidelity and preparing special educators in the field of applied behavior analysis. At this time, I'll hand the floor over to Dr. Martyr. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a really special week at Johns Hopkins at the School of Education because it is graduation week. So there's a lot of celebrations going on this week, and being able to talk to the next round of students who are thinking about joining our programs, it's a nice full circle situation for this week. So welcome. I want to start by talking to you all a little bit about applied behavior analysis. If we can move on to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. And so the majority of you are here because you know about applied behavior analysis and you want to learn more about what our programs have to offer. But some basic understanding of what ABA is and how we approach applied behavior analysis within our program is that we're looking at ABA as a scientific study of the principles of learning and behavior. So really, why do humans do the things that they do? How do we learn specific behaviors that we engage in every single day? And how do we just learn in general? ABA is a systematic approach for applying those principles of learning to improve socially important behavior for all individuals. So thinking about the students that we might serve in an educational setting, as well as the adults who work with those individuals, and how do we change their behavior to better support the outcomes for the individuals that we serve. Students who go through this program, if you go back one more slide, thanks. Students who go through this program are eligible to become certified in behavior analysis and offers that certification, the board certified behavior analyst certification, so that graduate level certification in behavior analysis. So We see behavior analysts working in a variety of educational settings. And this program that we offer, there's two programs, our postmaster certificate and our master's program, really looks at the emphasizing ABA in educational settings. So within educational settings, we see behavior analysts working in public schools, private schools, center-based programs, as well as home-based programs, and also agencies that consult to schools. And we see folks as BCBAs working in a variety of educational roles. So looking at behavior specialists, teachers, special educators, school psychologists, folks who are in charge of professional development for staff, speech and language pathologists, program coordinators. So there's a wide variety of roles in a variety of educational settings. Okay, now we can go on slide. Thank you. And so behavior analysts provide services that include anything from behavioral assessments all the way to intervention, to looking at data, making data-based decisions to improve outcomes for our students. We know that that's really important, but how do we make those data-based decisions? Writing and revising those behavior analytic plans, training others to implement those plans, and overseeing all of the implementation of the plan. So if you are familiar with the BACB 5th edition task list, which really outlines all of the responsibilities and tasks that behavior analysts need to complete, we are working on teaching all of the students who are in our programs to meet those task list items and engage in these types of services within an educational setting. Okay, and so this next slide, I think, is a really important slide because it talks about the demand for BCBAs across the state. So the Behavior Analyst Certification Board puts out this report, this job report on employment demand. And so we've seen this increase, and it's been increasing over the past 10 years, the demand for behavior analysts. So we've seen this increase since 2010. And we also see from 2020 to 2021, we don't have the data out for 2022 yet, we see this 38% increase. The demand for behavior analysts is highest in California, Massachusetts, Texas, Florida, and Illinois. And we can see the increase in demand for states that are close to Maryland. I think a few of you may not be included in some of these states. But I highly recommend that you check out this report on the BACB website that talks about demand for behavior analysts. If you're thinking about the state that you live in, what is that demand? So we see that demand increasing. Considering a graduate degree or graduate program in behavior analysis, if you're interested in this field, there is a high demand for folks with these credentials. So now that we've talked about the demand, let's talk about the programs that we offer. And if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you see those 4 circles, and these represent all of the steps needed to become a board-certified behavior analyst. The first one is having a master's degree. So that's the first requirement to be a BCBA. It's a master's or higher level. The next thing is to have the ABA coursework. So there are courses that are outlined by the BACB content area of 315 hours of graduate coursework. The next item that you need to become a behavior analyst is fieldwork experience. So these are those times where you are working in the field, being supervised by a BCBA to implement behavior analytic programs. And then finally, once all those 3 are completed, having your master's degree, the coursework, and the fieldwork experience, you then apply to the BACB to become board certified and sit and pass that BCBA exam. So at Hopkins, we offer options to complete the first 3 requirements in order to apply to the BACB to sit for the exam. And the 2 programs that we offer is our Master's in Special Education with an emphasis in Applied Behavior Analysis, and our Postmaster Certificate in ABA. So our master's degree offers 7 of the 7 ABA courses, and these are aligned with the BACB requirements, and an additional 5 special education courses pulled together will equal a master's degree. So checking off that first box there, or first circle. And then we also provide the option to enroll in our practicum elective courses. So if you want to get those supervised hours and you are local to Maryland, you can enroll in the elective courses with us to complete those fieldwork hours. The master's can be completed in 2 years. And if folks are continuing on to do the elective courses, that's an optional 3rd year. The postmaster certificate is for folks who already have their master's degree, so that first circle is already checked, but they need the ABA coursework and potentially the fieldwork experience. So those for the postmaster certificate includes those same 7 ABA courses, the 21 credits, the option to enroll those 4 practicum courses, and this program is also completed in 2 years with that optional 3rd year to complete the practicum elective courses. I'm going to talk about practicum in a few more slides, so we'll come back to that. But these are the 2 offerings within our programs that offer certification or eligibility for certification as a behavior analyst. Also, really important to point out that all of our ABA courses are verified by the Association for Behavior Analysis International. And what that means is that we submit our syllabi to ABAI every single year to receive that verification that our courses align with the BACB task list. Okay, so looking at the program format for both the master's and the postmasters. So our program is designed to meet the professional goals of a working professional. So all of our courses are offered in the evenings and are offered part-time. So that means that students can enroll in coursework taking 2 courses a semester. That's considered a part-time, being a part-time student. With the master's in special ed and the postmasters, the 7 ABA courses are offered in the evenings in a hybrid model. So what that means is that individuals who are local to Maryland can join us in person at our campus in Laurel, Maryland, which is the Applied Physics Lab. For folks who are outside of Maryland, they can also join us in class, but they can join us synchronously online through Zoom, kind of like what we're doing here. So we have both synchronous and in-person classes happening at the same time. So if you're in person, you may be in class with folks sitting next to you, as well as being on Zoom on the computer. So this is a great option for individuals to join us from across the US and not just in Maryland, but also provides a unique way to experience our programs. For the master's and the postmaster's certificate is offered in fall and spring semesters, while the master's degree on the left-hand side, we also take those special ed courses that are offered in the summer as well as during the fall and spring semesters. Those courses can be completed online. So we have a group of courses that are solely provided asynchronously, and I'll provide you guys with this course sequence and what that might look like. And we also have additional courses for that can be completed in person. So you do have that option to complete courses either online or in person. But those online courses for the 5 special ed are mostly asynchronous courses. So they're not like the hybrid courses for the ABA program, but they're more of those courses that you work through asynchronously, completing, one module every week or every 2 weeks, and completing assignments all fully online. Okay, so here are some of our learning outcomes from the ABA program. And these are just a few examples. We are really looking at students who are coming out of our program, who are graduating from our program, being able to define and demonstrate as well as apply those principles of ABA, using research methods to evaluate and measure outcomes from procedures, instructional procedures and interventions. We expect that our students are able to design, implement, and evaluate instructional programs and base those on assessment results. We also expect that our students are able to practice within our ethics code as a professional behavior analyst, that they are able to implement, manage, and practice behavior analysis in an educational setting. As I said before, our focus of this program is really on ABA and educational settings. And the ultimate outcome is for folks to pass that exam and become a board certified behavior analyst. Okay, so let's switch gears, talk a little bit about the practicum electives. So we offer the four practicum electives, and this enables our students to gain those fieldwork hours within the concentrated experience fieldwork. So if you're familiar with the fieldwork experience requirements outlined by the BACB, you can do either fieldwork experience or concentrated. The concentrated means that you can do 1,500 hours of supervised fieldwork. And it also means that you would need to have, the concentrated piece is the additional supervision. So it's 10% of your hours are supervised. So within the way that we offer those practicum electives is that we offer a BCBA supervisor who provides that one-on-one supervision for 1.5 hours per week. And then enrolled in the course, you can gain 1 hour per week of group supervision. So if you look at a 15-week semester, students can accrue 25 hours per week. With 2.5 hours, there's your 10% of supervision, both individual and group supervision. And if we look at folks who are trying to do all of their hours through our practicum electives, if you do that for 4 semesters, 15 weeks at 25 hours a week is 375 hours times 4 semesters is 1,500 hours. So it works out pretty perfectly. The one requirement for the practicum elective is that students enroll in our practicum electives if they're here local in Maryland. And the reason that we say that is because we work with a variety of partners here in Maryland, and we have a group of BCBAs here in Maryland who provide that individual supervision, and that supervision is one-on-one in person. We do have the opportunity to do some virtual, but our requirement really is to have more of that one-on-one supervision. The practicum courses are designed to meet, again, the concentrated fieldwork experience. We do work with our students who we want our students to be able to keep their full-time job if they're working in a school setting or an educational setting, to be able to do their practicum so that they are able to continue working and complete those fieldwork hours. But we also have to make sure that that those placements meet the BACB requirements. And there are also times that we folks do need a placement, maybe where they're currently working, they're not able to practice behavior analysis or don't have the opportunities to practice behavior analysis. Then we have a practicum coordinator who can work with you to find an appropriate placement. I think that covers, there's a lot of information on that slide. So please, at the end, when there's time to ask questions about practicum and the requirements for practicum, please jump in and ask any of those questions that you might have. Okay, so the next 2 slides are our course sequence. And you can see this first sequence is what the master's in special ed with an emphasis in ABA would look like. What I've provided here for you is our fully online autism program, which is it comes under our special ed program. So this would be those additional courses in special education. So you can see the program can be completed in 2 years, that optional 3rd year to add in those practicum electives. And then if you go on to the next slide, we have the postmaster's certificate. And this is, again, you can see over 2 years with that optional 3rd year. And so the autism courses that are listed in the master's are our fully online asynchronous courses. And then the postmaster's certificate, I'm going to talk about the ABA courses right now, just kind of go through those in detail. The first semester of that first year is the 2 ABA courses, which also are the same courses that the master's degree students would be taking, is the Intro to Applied Behavior Analysis and our Research Methods course. I always talk about this first semester as going to a new country and learning the language and the culture. So the Intro to ABA course goes over all the concepts and principles of applied behavior analysis and really gets that content down. We talk about applying those principles, but really is understanding those principles in theory. And then the research methods course really looks at how do we collect data, evaluate that data, analyze it, graph it. What are the different types of single subject designs that we can use to monitor our programs? And then in the spring semester, we move into looking at now, how do we use those skills from the first semester and look at designing intervention programs to decrease behaviors that may be interfering in school settings or educational settings. So in that course, we learn all about functional assessment, functional analysis, functional behavior assessment, how to develop interventions, how to collect data to evaluate those interventions and monitor them. The other course during the spring semester of the first year is the ethics course. And in the ethics course, we're really learning that ethics code of behavior analysts, but also how do we behave professionally as behavior analysts? So what are some of those different skills, essential skills that behavior analysts need to have? Then we move into the second year of the program, where the master's degree students would be taking some of their special ed courses in the summer, and the summer before the second year. In the second year of the program, we move into our next course, which is behavioral assessment and instructional strategies. So we know that behavior analysis is not just about decreasing interfering behaviors, but it's also about teaching new behaviors and teaching new skills. So in this first fall semester of that second year, you'll be working on a course called behavioral assessment and instructional strategies. So how do we assess for skills that students need to learn, and how do we teach those skills through instructional strategies? If you are doing the practicum elective, then you would start that during the fall semester of the second year. And according to the BACB, is an important point to point out about those fieldwork hours. According to the BACB, you can begin accruing your fieldwork hours in the minute you are enrolled in coursework. And that's fine for folks who are considering doing the fieldwork hours on your own and are not doing it through our practicum electives. Again, those are electives, they're not requirements. They are requirements to get board certified, but not requirements to graduate from our program. So if folks are interested in doing those hours on their own or through their employer, you can start doing those hours during the first semester of the first year. We have chosen to offer our electives during the second year of the program because we want to ensure that our students have these first 4 courses under their belt before they start doing those practicum hours. The spring semester moves into the supervision and consultation course. This is our newest course that really looks at how do we supervise others, how do we work with others to implement the plans that we have developed. There's a lot on staff training in this course and training other people. It could be staff training or parent training. And also, how do we consult with others? How do we work in a multidisciplinary team? And then in the last year of the program, and then obviously the practicum 2 would be during that second semester. And then the last year of the program, if you're doing the practicum electives, we also have our applications of ABA in the classroom. This is a really special course because there are 2 goals of this course. The first half of this course really focuses in on special issues of ABA in education. So we talk about what is ABA in early intervention? What is ABA in autism? What is ABA in positive behavior supports? How do we implement effective extinction procedures that are also ethical? So we talk about a lot of special topics and applied behavior analysis. The second half of that course, we really focus in on how do we prepare for the BCBA exam. So your professor during that course will take some time to work with you to develop study skills and tools to prepare to take the exam. From answering questions, multiple choice questions, to creating multiple choice questions, to taking the task list, the BACB task list, and breaking it down into sections and really studying every item or every number in that list. And then you're either done in the fall semester, if you're doing the electives, then you have that last elective in the spring semester. Another point I want to make about the practicum electives for students who are interested in thinking about doing the electives, it is not required, because these are elective courses, it's not required that students take all of the electives. You can choose to take 1 or 2 or 3 or all 4. So it's not a requirement they have to complete all 4. So I just want to point that out. Sometimes students are interested in maybe just doing one elective with us and then doing the rest on their own, or vice versa. So there's that option as well. I also would like to point out, so it's a lot of information I'm providing for all of you, and I know it's a lot to take in. All of our courses and course descriptions are available on our website. So feel free to check out our website and go in and look at the different course descriptions, because I think that's an important piece and when thinking about applying to the program. All right, our next slide, some additional information. So if you finish all 12 courses of the master's degree, then you will have receive a master's degree in special ed with a focus on ABA in from Johns Hopkins. If you're doing the postmasters, you finish all 7 courses. If you complete fieldwork hours either with us or on your own, then you are ready to apply to the BACB for certification. Graduates are responsible for applying and supplying all that supporting documentation to the BACB and scheduling that exam. We don't do that for you. We also do not offer the certification. We offer the degree program. So it's really important to point out that we don't award certification in behavior analysis. You do need to apply to the BACB to be eligible to become a board certified behavior analyst and obviously pass that exam. Next slide. Some advantages. I think I talked about the first one already, is that focus in ABA and education. So the students who go through our program are prepared to serve all different types of disabilities and all different types of settings. Students who complete the ABA program pass the exam, and that's a really important point. So if you are familiar with the BACB, the BCBA exam, you know it's a very tough exam to pass. It's got like anywhere between a 64 to 60% pass rate. Students who go through the program are passing the exam, either the first time or the second time. If students do not pass for the first time, then we work with you. Your professors will work with you to support you in increasing your study skills and looking at the areas that you need to improve in order to pass the exam. But the majority of our students pass the first time around. Another advantage is the practicum, which I've talked about, that there is a course associated with the practicum. It is meeting students, graduate students at their skill level. So, you know, we have a curriculum that we follow, but an important point is that the practicum is very individualized for folks who are coming in and doing those elective with us. And our final piece that I believe is a very strong advantage of our program is that all of our faculty are board certified behavior analysts. They're all at the doctoral level, and they're also all practicing behavior analysis every single day. They have a plethora of experience that they bring to the classroom, and it's a definite advantage of our program. Just some milestones to share with all of you. Our program started in 2013, so we're entering into our 10th year next year. We've had 84 graduates represent a variety of settings, educational professionals. We had our first speech and language pathologist go through our program and graduate yesterday. And you can see the different roles from educational professionals, educators, behavior specialists, school psychologists, administrators, and again, the speech and language pathologists, as well as instructional specialists. 7 cohorts have completed the program. 69 have graduated and become board certified. And then we also have 43 students who are licensed in the state of Maryland. So if you are outside of the state of Maryland, I highly recommend that you check out if your state offers licensure in behavior analysis. Not all states do, but the majority of states do, and that is growing, and is highly recommended that once you become board certified, that you go on to get licensed within your state as long as your state provides it. Okay, next slide. All right, so great. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand things over to Gia Wang, who is a graduate of both our master's degree in special ed. This was before we had the combination of the master's in ABA, master's in special ed with an emphasis in ABA. So she did her master's degree with us with an emphasis in autism. She graduated in 2008, and then she loved it so much she came on back and did her postmaster certificate with us in ABA. So Gia is a an educator in Howard County Public Schools, which is a school system within Maryland. And I'm going to hand things over to you so Gia can talk about her experiences in the program. And also, I'd like to point out that if you have questions for Gia, please hold them until the end. She can really answer some great questions about balancing school and work and the requirements for each course. So I'll hand it over to Gia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mater. Hello, everyone. My name is Gia Wang. I went to Hopkins as a desperate immigrant parent right after my daughter's diagnosis of autism at the age of 3. So at that time, my initial intention was to learn something so I could support my daughter in her daily life. Now, after the master program and postmaster ABA program, I just want to say going to Hopkins was the best decision I made in my life. I became a mommy therapist for my daughter, and she's now in a gen ed classroom with minimal support. And I myself am on the journey of helping more kids and families as a special educator in Howard County. So at my current job, I collect data and work together with our school psych to develop and implement behavior intervention plans for our friends with IEPs. I work in the PBIS committee to help develop school-wide positive behavior intervention and supports. I also created a work choice system to work more efficiently and reduce burnout for our paraeducators and student assistants. At the same time, I use, self-recording, self-management with myself to increase my productivity. So really, the ABA program did not only equip me with the skill set in behavior analysis, but also a different way I see things and people. Something that really surprised me from the program was the extra attention time I got from the faculty. I still remember it was in my second year within the program. So that was the practicum year. I was, due to COVID, a lot of things changed. And at that time, I didn't have green card. My work visa was not renewed on time. So all of a sudden, I could not work. And that means I couldn't get the practicum hours on time. So we had a mentor and a practicum supervisor, both of them. So they held a meeting on the second day and worked out a creative solution for me so that I could continue my practicum in the original time frame. So looking back, I want to say Hopkins is a large university with great reputation and amazing resources. At the same time, this program is very small that you can receive individualized attention from the faculty because they care and they want everyone to be successful. So I had students receiving like tutoring sessions from one of our professors. And for students like me, international students with all those working and study requirements, they help me too. So if you are really looking for a program where you feel you are engaged and supported in learning, I have already done the research for you. Hopkins is your choice. Let me know if you have additional questions. All right, thank you, Dr. Mater.
Thanks, Gia. I'm glad you'll be around to answer any questions that participants have. So a question that I typically get from applicants is, who's your ideal program candidate? And so I provided that information for you here. First is the demonstration and desire to commit to the field of applied behavior analysis. So it's really important for applicants to know that this is a very intensive program. This is not a program if you're thinking about just, getting an additional certification to sort of boost your career and think about, additional 4 letters after your name. This really is a program that is going to introduce you and also immerse you in the field of behavior analysis and learn those skills to be an effective behavior analyst. It is a tough program. It is a lot of work. And I'm sure Gia can share some of that information with you. There are quizzes in every single class. There are exams in every single class, papers, lots to read, a lot of articles to read, to be able to critique articles, look at the literature, understand that literature and apply it to your own settings. So this program really involves a lot of time and hard work. Another characteristic of an ideal program candidate is being able to understand all of the requirements. You don't have to have them memorized, but being able to understand what those requirements are, checking out the BACB website, being familiar with those requirements. We also are aligned to all of those requirements, so we're aware of them and refer to them pretty regularly, but it's important to know what you are getting into when you're thinking about this field, and what are the requirements to become board certified, and what are the requirements to maintain that certification once you are board certified. Another thing for an ideal candidate is being able to commit to 2 to 3 years of that intensive graduate coursework, and demonstrating meeting all of those admissions requirements. So Sion is going to share with you what some of those requirements are. And then finally, as I've already said, willing to work and study hard. And students who are able to work and study hard will be successful in this program. All right, so what's next? We're going to talk about the admissions requirements, but from my perspective as faculty lead for the program, make sure that you review the BACB requirements on the website, get your application started, and you can do that through you see the link right here, as well as through our website, and then reach out to me with any questions that you have about the program. So if you're interested in reaching out to me, please write down my email that's listed right there. I will be following up with everybody with an email as well, but please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have about the program. Sion, I think I'm handing it over to you, right?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Martyr. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. First, a 3.0 or better cumulative undergraduate grade point average. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on the school's website. Keep in mind the application fee is $80. We'll need official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. Again, we'll need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. An essay, a current resume, 2 letters of recommendation. And finally, the GRE is not required for this program. And one thing I just skipped over was the interview. The interview process is also required for this program as well. And if your degree was completed outside of the US, please keep in mind that you'll need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. And additional information can be found on the school's website. The tuition for the 2023-2024 academic school year is for face-to-face courses $1,025 per credit, which is $3,075 per course. For an online course, $1,025 plus a $20 per credit technology fee, which makes it $3,135 per course. In addition, there's a registration fee for $175 per semester. And then keep in mind the application fee is $80. And for additional information on tuition and fees, please visit the SOE's website. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. The School of Education, we offer a limited number of partial need-based institutional scholarships each year. The awards range on average from $800 to $3,000 per semester, and they're applied to tuition expenses beginning in the fall semester. And please keep in mind, to apply for the SOE Endowed Scholarship, students must submit the FAFSA form. To learn if you qualify for the Endowed Scholarship or have any questions regarding to financial aid, please visit the school's website. All right, so at this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions. Please type your question in the Q&A box. And Dr. Marder, while we wait for some questions, we have some frequently asked questions. The first one is, where are the classes offered for the master's program, ABA program, and also for the postmaster's ABA program?
Thank you. So all of the ABA courses and the special ed courses that are offered in person are offered at our Laurel, Maryland campus. Is the Applied Physics Lab in Laurel, which is centrally located for folks across Maryland. Our ABA courses are also offered in a hybrid fashion so that you can join us through Zoom, where you pretty much Zoom right into the classroom setting. Our special ed courses are either in person or they are also online, and majority of those are offered asynchronously online, which means that you join the course. It's pretty much independent work. There is group work, but you follow through modules. You follow through modules through the program at your own pace.
Thank you, Dr. Marder. So it looks like we have the question, if you've already taken classes that are offered for certificate track, do you have to take them again, or will you receive credit for the classes you have already taken?
So this is a great question, and I assume the question is that someone has taken coursework towards certification that maybe meets the certification requirements or the coursework requirements. And what we would do in that case is, one, make sure that it's an approved program where the courses were taken. We look at the grade that was achieved for that course and how it aligns with any of our courses. The school policy at Johns Hopkins for the School of Education is that you can transfer up to 3 credits, sometimes more. But this is a process that has to take place once you're accepted into the program, and your advisor will go through your courses with you to determine if any of those courses could be transferred in as substitutes for the current courses.
Thank you, Dr. Marder. We have another really good question about GPA. So we have a student asking, please explain the GPA from undergraduate and graduate verification. Is it an average from both degrees?
Sion, I'm pretty sure, I think this might be a good admissions question. I'm pretty sure it's separate. So it's the 3.0 from undergraduate and 3.0 from graduate. So if you have your master's degree, we'd be expecting a 3.0 in your master's degree. And if you have, a bachelor's degree, we're expecting a 3.0 and a bachelor's. So it's not the average of the two of both degrees.
Yes, so we're looking for a 3.0 or better cumulative undergraduate and also a graduate degree as well too. Let's see, the next one we have from Tiffany is, can you give an example of how an out-of-state student would go about completing the practicum hours?
All right, so this is a great question, Tiffany, and I'll tell you how some of our students are doing this now. So we have a student who is out of state who works for an ABA organization. So she is already receiving supervision as part of her employment. So therefore, she is able to accrue those hours through her employment. We also have other folks. The other option is that supervision may not be set up in your place of employment, but you can seek out BCBAs in your area who are willing to provide supervision for you. So for example, prior to my time at Johns Hopkins, I was a BCBA supervisor. So individuals would reach out to me and hire me to be their supervisor. So that is an additional way that you can do it. It really depends on which state you're coming from and what your situation is, right? If your employer has BCBAs on site, or if you need to hire a BCBA. And we can guide you in that. We can't provide that supervision, but we can guide you in making some of those choices and how to pursue that supervision if you're doing it on your own. So I hope that answers the questions. If you have an additional question, please let me know. So I'm going to actually turn it over to, I have a question for Gia, if we can sort of talk about, if you can sort of share like your your study habits during the week and your preparation for class and how you sort of organize your time each week, that would be great if you could share that.
Oh, sure. So during my time in the program, I usually spend about 1.5 hours from Monday to Thursday. So I don't study on Fridays. So for the reading, so that's like 6 hours in total for the reading part. And then I spend a chunk of time, like the half day or the whole day on Saturday or Sunday to complete all the assignments. So that's about 10 to 15 hours a week that I spend during my postmaster program.
Thank you, Gia. I also got this question the other day about like the class like environment. Did you feel like it was like a collaborative environment with the other students?
Yes. So actually, I made some really good friends in the program, and we have study dates together. You know, we go to the library, we sit down on a Saturday or Sunday, and we work together. We help each other to prepare for the exam. So I think that environment was really friendly and collaborative.
Thank you, Gia. And Dr. Martyr, it looks like we have a question for you, which is how do classroom teachers complete the practicum task at their school?
Great question. And so the first thing to think about is the type of setting that you're in. So as a classroom teacher, what type of a classroom are you supporting? And oftentimes teachers are responsible for skill acquisition for their students. So developing programs, teaching programs, collecting data on those programs for their students and measuring the outcomes. And we see that also with behavior intervention plans as well. So again, it depends on the setting, and that's why we have a practicum coordinator that meets with students to sort of make sure that their site allows them to practice behavior analysis within that setting. And the practicum, there's many opportunities for those practicum tasks. The other thing to point out is that there are two types of hours that you need to accrue. One is restricted hours and unrestricted hours. The restricted hours are those times where you are directly intervening with a student or group of students, running programs, running intervention plans, or directly teaching a student. And they're called restricted hours because the BACB wants to restrict the number of hours students are doing. The unrestricted hours are those hours where you're spent analyzing data, researching the literature, developing plans, writing plans, evaluating plans. So half the time is spent in those unrestricted hours. So many of our teachers in educational settings do a lot of their unrestricted hours sometimes outside of that work day, where the restricted hours may include more during the workday in a typical classroom setting. So I hope that answers that question, but it's definitely doable. We've had many students go through the program and complete their hours in their educational or their classroom setting.
Thank you, Dr. Martyr. Another question we have is in regards to the postmaster's program, are classes taken together or separately in one semester?
Yeah, so it's 2 courses that run the full 15 weeks. So they are taken at the same time. So they're offered on different nights, obviously, but each class meeting is about 3 hours long, and it's offered twice a week. So 2 courses running simultaneously in one semester.
All right, we've had some really good questions today. Any more
Absolutely.
questions? Please type your question in the Q&A box. My final question I have for you, Dr. Martyr, is are you accepting applications for the postmasters and the master's certificate program for fall semester?
Yes, we are. So we accept applications on a rolling basis. So as applications come in, our faculty committee reviews those applications, and reviews those applications, and then folks are invited to, once the applications pass that first review, appropriate candidates will then be invited to interview with our faculty. So we are still accepting applications, and we will be through the month of June.
Dr. Martin, we have a question regarding the tuition. So would the price be $6,000 per semester because we have to take 2 classes at the same time? So each course is about $3,075. So yes, it would be about, if again, assuming this is in-person courses, $3,075, which would come up to about $6,150 just for the courses. All right, so it looks like there are no more questions. We're going to move on to the next slide. Here on the slide, I have some very important contact information. If you have any questions regarding your application, please reach out to the Office of Admissions. Our email address is on this slide, also our phone number, and also any program-related questions, please reach out to Dr. Martyr, but also Julianne Taylor. She's the Senior Academic Program Administrator for the Special Education Program, and her email address is on this slide. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education, and thank you to both Gia Wang and Dr. Martyr for the wonderful presentation today. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.